Top of the agenda, that's the nasty fallout in South Australia as the Port Adelaide faithful turn on their long-term coach. A dismal loss at home, and it feels like, again, Ken Hinkley is coaching for his job.
Reading the room on key football people, I doubt the Port faithful are going to rest until the trigger's pulled on Ken.
Is it time for a change? Is it time for a new voice in the senior coaching role? I think that'll be a serious conversation that will be had.
There is a sense of doom and gloom and inevitability about what might come with Ken Hinkley.
It's probably getting to the point where he's starting to look at those efforts and go, is this playing group really playing for me now?
Just wonder what's going through his mind right now, Ken Hinkley.
There'll be plenty.
This is very tough for Ken Hinkley.
He'd be really nervous about what's going on here.
He'll be coaching for his future.
It's just part of what goes with this job. It's always been the same. It's, you know, the disappointment comes out in many different ways. No one's more disappointed than us inside the football club. No one. But I get the reaction. I've been around it for a long time.
If the club hasn't got faith in you any longer, complete faith, that's when it's time for you to finish your tenure.
It was always going to be, if you don't go deep in the finals, that you're probably time to say goodbye at the end of the year. Does it come before that? It's hard to say, and I guess the next month we'll see how that plays out.
It's one of his toughest and most disappointing days at the footy.
For a little while on Saturday, there was that macabre sense that descended upon Adelaide Oval, and when a crowd turns on its coach like the Port Adelaide people did, that's just a nasty way to treat a good and loyal man.
Oh, he's absolutely loyal, and it's ugly. We don't see that often in football, Jared, and that's why it's generated such headlines and around the country. We haven't seen that for a long time. They turn on him. The Port Adelaide. Well, let's deal with some facts. We know Ken signed a 2-year contract. We know that he probably needed to play finals and win a final, or there would be discussions about his future. When you have a performance like you did on the weekend, on the 20th anniversary of the Premiership, there's a bit of G up. You know, there's just an expectation that you compete. And when you don't compete to a point where you get annihilated on the ground, and then you get booed off. It's like a party's had a really ugly end, and that was what Saturday's. So who takes responsibility? Is it Ken Hinkley? Is it Josh Carr in the box? Is it collectively the coach's box? Yes, it is. But the critical piece in all of it, Jared, is the players. It always is. It's the players. They decide how they want to play. They are guided by the coach. And he's been a great guider, a great, wonderful person. And for what those players showed no respect to the 20-year anniversary Premiership team. They showed no respect to each other, no respect for Ken Hinkley, no respect for the fans. Ken Hinkley shouldn't have been booed off the ground the weekend. The players should have been booed off the ground on the weekend. There is a bad vibe about Kenny. There's no mistake. 12 years, maybe the time is up. Maybe it is. And if it is, everyone will say, well done, Kenny. But the players must take responsibility. They must. Bobby Murphy was still here, he'd be saying, right, circle those chairs, everybody. Let's have a chat. Are we going to let our coach get absolutely tormented by the media, which is us, and the fans? That's our fault he's getting tormented like that. Come on. Big 3 weeks for the players, big 3 week, more so for Ken Hinkley.
Yeah, so it unleashed that core within the Port Adelaide constituency that has wanted Kenny's head on a stake for years now, and seems like they'll be relentless until they get it. The point around the players is really interesting because last year Ken defied the modern course of things, which had been lived by Nathan Buckley and Leon Cameron, is that year usually brings you to your knees. But he galvanised the players. He coached better than ever before. They won their 13 in a row, but they were gassed by the time that they got to the final. So the year was sort of oddly staked out because he'd been marched to the edge of the plank. The risk in a scenario like this is in the ferocity to diminish him or discredit him is you actually forget what he's done for Port Adelaide, and the lack of gratitude here is probably the bit that I find most distasteful. Is of the 45 coaches who have coached more than 200 games, Ken has a winning percentage just a whisker shy of 60. So he doesn't have the premiership, and there's no camouflage for that, and he doesn't have the finals record, but he has led Port Adelaide from oblivion to an awful lot of winning, and here's how it stacks up historically. He sits neatly at 15th in front of great coaches. So this idea that he's never been any good and he'll never be any good, that's just rotten.
No,
I hate these moments as the role is diminished and disrespected, and he deserves much better than that. But there is no safeguarding against the fact that if you are a coach in your 12th year and you haven't won a premiership, if this is a fall that sees them miss the 8, there will be no surviving.
No, there won't be. And no one should kick a guy like Ken Hinkley out the door. Ken Hinkley should be... The door should be opened up for him, and they should stop him and say, hey, we want to thank you so much of what you've done to our footy team. But this is the vibe that I'm writing about tomorrow, Jared. The vibe is so bad that we're sort of already talking about that he's in trouble, that he's gone.
Yeah, and they're 8 and 6.
And they're 8 and 6 and they sit in the 8th spot. But the vibe is terrible, mate. I mean, God, everyone likes great football stories, and if Ken can get back and get into the finals and play finals and win a couple of finals, you'd look at him and say, well done, you've picked this team up again. But who knows what's going to happen. But right now, there's a bit of a stench around, not just Ken Hinkley's coaching, there's a bit of a stench around all of Port Adelaide at the moment, the way he's getting treated, the way the players are playing. It's not a good place.
No, so these are big games, aren't they? St Kilda at Marvel, then the Bulldogs at Adelaide Oval, who look in good shape, and Gold Coast are unbeaten so far at People First Stadium. So that is both the path back to form, to pick off the 3 of those, and it's also the path to where people will give up.
Footy's funny. Sorry for cutting off, Jared, but footy's funny. Footy decides. So when you look at the draw and go, oh, geez, you're unlucky with the draw. No, but that's footy. Like, he's beaten teams and left them and just guarded them out of finals before. Now it's his turn. Do they stand up? Do teams stand up? Footy decides, mate, and then clubs will decide on the result.
And they have problems everywhere, don't they? I thought for most of the year their forward setup was going to be the problem, but their defensive mechanisms aren't working with the players that they brought in. But the problem is now the midfield, which was the given. Like, it's the driver. It was going to be what was going to give them a chance. So that's a huge area of concern, and not easily understood, not easily answered, and I imagine inside the 4 walls not easily solved.
Well, they have to, as Nick Del Santo spoke about brilliantly on AFL Tonight, they've got to work out, is it the attitude, is it the mechanics of the game, is it the game plan? I mean, maybe it's all of it. So they've just got to put it all on the table and get together and come up with something. But on the weekend, it was so un-Port Adelaide-like. It was dispirited, and you're watching these players just run away. Dermot Brereton picked it up really early in the commentary. Well done, Dermot. They were running away. They weren't the effort. That dog hungriness that we talk about, where was it? Where is it? That's the expectation every week. When it's a crunch game, that's a given that you come out with it. You don't have to ask for it a quarter time. God, sometimes you've got to pull them back. They're too dog hungry. Oh, no, it was so disappointing.
Yeah, and if they don't have that, then they don't have
much. No, they don't have
do
much.
That's the cornerstone of what they are.
The young forwards aren't standing up. They're not young anymore. This is the problem. They're not young. They're mid-20s. Take control of your career. Take control of the destiny of that forward line. You know, Charlie's not coming back to help. They do miss Willery. Oh, no, they miss small goal kickers. They miss defensive mids. They miss key backs who can do the fundamentals right. Because Sava Ratugolea on the weekend, and he gives everything he's got, mate. If anyone attacks the footy with more gusto, I don't know. He's unbelievable. But when the ball gets in his hands, you think, what's going to happen now?
Yep.
And you can't run that risk so deep towards goal. You can't have those mistakes. So, yeah, they've got a lot to work on.
They do, they do. Josh Carr was the spokesman today, which was an interesting choice in its own right. He's regarded as the anointed one, and periodically he's been asked questions about that. They were pointed today.
Oh, look, I think I've answered it a lot in the last year and a half since I've been here. What I do know is everyone here right now is trying to coach well and trying to improve this group. I'm comfortable with where I'm at right now. I don't expect to walk into anything. What I do know is I've got to work really hard at what I'm doing right now. As coaches, we're there for each other. We all are, and that's why, like your close coaching group, you lean on each other, you challenge each other. I'll challenge Ken with a lot of things. He'll challenge me with a lot of things. We'll argue, but it comes from a place of care and respect, and we come out the other side better.
Well done for him for fronting today. You know, don't you do it, Ken. I'll get up. And he knew all those questions were coming, so well done, Josh Carr. But my concern there is Kenny's on the bench and Josh Carr's basically the game day manager, coach. So if there's troubles at Port Adelaide with how they're playing and what they're trying to introduce or institute onto the footy team, isn't Josh Carr's ideology now in question as well? If Kenny Hinkley's been questioned, isn't Josh Carr's ideology being questioned? I think so. I'm not trying to put him down, but we're all in it together. Unless Josh is holding on to some gold that he might bring out when he's senior coach. But right now, I see Josh Carr as being as influential as any assistant coach in the competition. Because Kenny's on the bench. He doesn't pick up his headphones very much, Kenny. He's the one-on-one guy. Hey, come on, let's have a chat. Let's have a chat. Doing well. So the mechanics of what's going on is upstairs.